The darkest hour ever. That's what the Uvalde newspaper calls it. And that is the subject of the most important editorial ever published by a small-town Texas newspaper. On Sunday, the Uvalde Leader News said that Uvalde's darkest hour was the time between 11:33 a.m. and 12:50 p.m. when a mass murderer shot and killed 19 children and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde. The Sunday edition of the Uvalde Leader News, Sunday edition, is only 20 pages long. It is not a newspaper accustomed to having its editorial opinion delivered to a national audience or even to the leaders of Texas state government. Sunday's editorial was greeted by silence from Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott, who has the authority to fire the state law enforcement officials who he says did not tell him the truth about what happened in Uvalde. The Uvalde Leader News says the people working for Governor Abbott in the Texas Department of Public Safety have been as incoherent as a, quote, drunken sailor. Drunken sailor. That's what the Uvalde newspaper is calling the Greg Abbott investigative team. The head of the Texas Department of Public Safety, Steve McCraw, right there, delivered that one meandering press conference that you see him doing there, in which much of what he said then turned out to be false. Greg Abbott has not fired him. No one has been fired. No one has resigned, including Pete Arredondo, the chief of the Uvalde School District Police, who was reportedly in command inside the school when, according to the Uvalde Leader News editorial, quote, 19 officers from the Uvalde PD, school district, Department of Public Safety, and Border Patrol waited, apparently frozen by orders or fear, in the hallway. Frozen by orders or fear. While Chief Arredondo and those 19 officers were frozen for an hour, Federico Torres's 10-year-old son, Rogelio, bled to death on the floor of his classroom. On Saturday, Federico Torres said this about Chief Arredondo.
If I were him, I would quit my job. Even if he doesn't quit, he's supposed to be fired. Get out of there. He didn't do nothing for us. He failed us. He failed our kids. He failed the future from this community. What is he going to do now? How is he going to wake tomorrow?
He is apparently having no trouble waking up tomorrow. His professional life only seems to have actually improved since he failed utterly in Uvalde's darkest hour. Chief Arredondo was sworn in last week as the newest member of Uvalde's City Council. It was done in secret, which might have been a violation of law in and of itself, doing that in secret. And when a CNN reporter caught up with him at the end of the week last week, he didn't look or sound like someone who was troubled in any way at all. He stood there for a moment before hustling away, refused to answer any questions, because Chief Arredondo, along with every other Texas government official and every other Texas law enforcement official involved in this case, does not want any more information about it made public now. Governor Abbott rushed to Uvalde the day after the mass murder to personally tell the story of what happened in that school. He wanted to be at the microphone that day, the center of attention, telling Texas and the country everything about what happened in that school. He praised the heroism of the officers who went into that school without ever saying that they waited over an hour to do anything. And as the story that Governor Abbott told started to fall apart the next day, thanks to reporters on the scene and family members who were outside the school, Greg Abbott sent his head of the Department of Public Safety, Steve McCraw, out to tell the story again and get it right this time. But after that story started to fall apart, everyone went silent. Everyone involved is now helping Chief Arredondo keep his job for as long as possible. Keep that paycheck coming in as long as possible. The school board has the power to fire Chief Arredondo as the chief of the school department's police force, but they had a meeting last week and they did nothing. The longer Texas authorities can keep secret what happened in that school, they increase their chances of not having to do anything about what the Uvalde Leader News advocates at the end of its editorial. The editorial echoes what people in Uvalde said to President Biden when he visited: do something. The editorial says, do something. Raise the legal age to purchase all firearms to 21, the same that is required for a handgun or a pack of smokes. Remove liability protections for firearms manufacturers who are targeting our teenagers with messages of killing. And for God's sake, restrict high-capacity magazines to law enforcement and the military. Governor Greg Abbott has been publicly opposed to each of those things. One governor did something. 3 weeks. That's all it took, 3 weeks. After 10 black people were murdered by a racist mass murderer in Buffalo, New York, in a supermarket on May 14th, it took the New York legislature 3 weeks to pass new legislation on gun safety, which New York Governor Kathy Hochul signed into law today. It includes an increase in the age from 18 to 21 for the purchase of the kind of assault weapon that was used in the Buffalo supermarket and in Robb Elementary School in Uvalde. It increases licensing requirements, and it bans the sale of body armor.
Today is a start. It's a start, and it's not the end. Thoughts and prayers won't fix this, but taking strong action will. And we'll do that in the name of the lives that have been lost, for the parents who will no longer see children stepping off a school bus.
3 weeks. Governor Hochul did that in 3 weeks. Governor Abbott has done absolutely nothing in 2 weeks since the Uvalde mass murder. The Greg Abbott plan appears to be wait out the news cycle and do nothing. On Sunday, 250 self-declared gun enthusiasts and donors to Greg Abbott and other Republican campaigns took out an ad on the Dallas Morning News urging the federal government to do something, including raising the age to purchase a gun to 21, expanding background checks, and creating red flag laws that allow judges to restrict gun access at the request of family members and others who consider someone dangerous. Matthew McConaughey, who was born in Uvalde, wrote an op-ed piece for the Austin American-Statesman today, advocating the same list of reforms and a national waiting period for purchasing assault rifles. McConaughey wrote, individuals often purchase weapons in a fit of rage, harming themselves or others. Studies show that mandatory waiting periods reduced homicides by 17%. Governor Abbott knows that the more we learn about what happened in that school, the more pressure will build on Republicans in Texas to do something. But if it takes a year to find out what happened in that school, then the political imperative to do something could collapse, as it always has in the past. So as of tonight, the Texas plan, from Chief Arredondo all the way up to Governor Abbott, seems to be wait them out. Stay silent and wait out the wave of pressure from Uvalde's newspaper and a few Republican donors and Matthew McConaughey. Just wait them out and do nothing.